Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Mountain and Adventure Film Festival. I'm Benjamin Oberman, and this is the 2016 festival, and I'm super excited today to be talking with Raichle Farrelly, who's the Executive Director of Girls Education International. How are you, Ray?
Hi, I'm great. Thank you for having me.
So this particular charity came to my attention through one of our athlete ambassadors, Heidi Wirtz, who's an amazing climber who's been all over the world, and there was a need. And so, Ray, can you tell us just a little bit about the origins of the organization and what you do?
Yeah, so I know Heidi's going to be on, or has already spoken a little bit, but Heidi and Lizzie were climbing in Pakistan. So Heidi Wirtz and Lizzie Scully are the two founders. They were climbing in Pakistan, and Lizzie had an injury close to one of the villages, and they ended up staying in the village with some locals kind of while Lizzie was recovering from an injury. And when they were there, they took a walk around the village and they realized there were schools for boys, but there were no schools for girls. And being a couple of feminists, as they are, they decided, let's do something about this. So as soon as they got home to Boulder, Colorado, they put their heads together and they founded Girls Education International. And then it's grown since then. So now we have, our project in Pakistan is quite big now. We're supporting 60 girls, and then we've got girls we support in Liberia, and recently we opened in Tanzania.
That's amazing. Now, in some of these countries, which obviously the girls weren't being educated because it's more male dominant, what sort of reaction or obstacles were put in your path as you implemented this?
So in Pakistan, because that's probably the most sensitive region to be working to empower girls, we partner with an organization called Bidari, and they had already sort of been making headway with making education a priority for girls. And they have a really cool model, which is the one we embrace with them. And so we support a group of girls for 5 years. And in those villages, as people they start to notice, okay, who are these girls that are going to school? What's the support they're getting? And then little by little, other families started putting their girls in school just because they knew of this other group of girls going. And after 5 years' time, we pulled out, and the parents of our original girls continued supporting the girls, plus these other families continued supporting, and then we moved into new villages. So the key, I would say, is local buy-in and having support through a local nonprofit in the country to help us out.
Now, when you talk about support, is this on the ground? Is it education? Is it financial support? Like, what sort of things are you doing, and what support do you need to be able to do your work?
So we definitely need money. That's our big challenge, is always simply fundraising. We're mostly a pass-through organization, which means that we raise money, we take donations, and then we pass it on to our nonprofit partners in these other countries. So Bidari in Pakistan, Liberia now is our partner in Liberia, and Project Raizeisha is our partner in Tanzania. So then in those countries, they have staff who are paid and who run the program. They check on the girls, they pay the school fees, and they're also accountable to us to give us reports back on how the girls are doing, what the needs are, how the families are responding. So on our end, we just mainly need to raise the funds, and then we get it into the countries and they run the programs.
And has this been going on long enough? Like, do you have any stories of specific girls who have come through and how it changed their life?
Yeah, definitely. In Tanzania recently, we've had a few really cool success stories. One girl, she was in a tiny village, no electricity, just sort of typical rural village in Tanzania. She got through secondary school with our support, but she didn't do well enough on her exit exams to go to high school, so we gave her the option of going to vocational school. She chose to study administrative assistant work, clerical work, learning about computers and things. And just this past summer, I was over there in Tanzania, and I visited her at her workplace, where she's now the administrative assistant in a legal office. She works for a lawyer. So that's one of our stories, and there are many others.
And typically, like, what might have happened if you hadn't come in and helped? What would this girl's life have looked like?
Yeah, so Diana for sure would have, by now, she would have been married with at least 2 kids probably, and she would be living back in the village with her family. And the work in the village is pretty much just sustenance farming. So she would probably be working on the farm or tending to animals or raising her children while her husband worked either as a farmer himself or a fisherman. So, you know, eventually she will marry and she will have kids, but at least with the education and the experience she has, we hope that she'll have such a value on education that she'll raise her kids with, you know, strong educational goals and be able to engage in society and be a little bit more involved.
And does the society, like this law firm where she works, do they appreciate what you're doing in educating these girls who are now coming into the workforce?
Yeah, you know, I met her boss, the lawyer, in the office, and he was really grateful, and he was saying what a hard worker she is and how much she really enjoys the work. And so she's an important part of the way that office operates now, so I can't see why they wouldn't see the value in that.
Well, that's great. And so now how did we get from Heidi and Liz to your involvement?
Yeah, so I know Lizzie, I guess, or Heidi at first. I'm not sure how, but I'm a climber also. I've been a climber for about 20 years. So I volunteered with Lizzie through the Hera Foundation, which raises awareness about ovarian cancer. And then also I just know Heidi through climbing and through the Colorado world. I worked at Black Diamond for a while, so I knew them through trade shows and climbing competitions. And eventually they invited me on board, and I was super excited just to be a board member. And that was in, I think, 2007, and I've been with Girls Ed ever since. And it's really important to me. And in full disclosure, I'm also a co-founder of Project Wezesha, which is the organization we partner with in Tanzania. So I've been working in Tanzania since 2009, traveling there every year, and eventually it just made sense. Why don't we expand Girls Ed into Tanzania through this partnership? So that's how that came to be.
Well, that's great. And just because this is an adventure festival and you're traveling to these exotic lands, do you get to climb while you're there as well?
I haven't found anything to climb on in Tanzania, although I will tell the adventure lovers out there that there are an awful lot of boulders around Lake Victoria in the Mwanza region. And I think that, you know, it's hot, but I think they would be pretty fun to climb on. And of course there's Kilimanjaro. I should probably climb Mount Kilimanjaro someday, but it's really hard to justify spending $900 to climb a mountain when you're doing that kind of work. You start counting your pennies in a different way than you do when you're at home.
Now, is that the permit fee, or is that like to get on an expedition?
It's to get up the mountain with guides, and you're not allowed to go without guides. So even if you're a really experienced climber and it's not a difficult mountain, you still have to go with almost 7 guides. They want to, you know, give a lot of employment to locals, which is really great. So yeah, you'll maybe get to carry your water bottle, but they pretty much carry everything up for you. And I've heard it's an interesting experience, but for folks like us who are climbing a lot and in much bigger mountains, it's kind of a walk up.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, over here in Palm Springs, there's the Cactus to Cloud, so you can walk through like 4 different climate levels, you know, locally for free.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, probably mangoes to clouds, I guess, would be the Tanzania.
Now, in some of the places where there is climbing, have you gotten any of the girls out there on the rocks and kind of exposed them to the outdoor world?
We haven't yet, but I'm really inspired by Danica Gilbert and the work she's doing in Afghanistan, getting a lot of girls out into the mountains. It's super inspiring and impressive. And Bidari just started taking our girls on excursions in Pakistan to sort of teach them about self-empowerment, self-awareness. So they've been doing trips to old forts and museums and different sort of geographic interest areas. Yeah. And I mean, Pakistan is the mecca for climbing, so it would be a pretty great opportunity.
Well, I think the movement is there. Like, I think it's Sarah Menzies who's got her film Afghan Cycles that's coming out this year that's been quite successful, but really empowering women by giving them a means of transportation that provided them with independence. And so, yeah. Not to say that it's the same as like getting educated, but certainly getting them out in the wilderness, I think, is a very freeing and empowering opportunity. And if not education, it certainly is fun.
Yeah, yeah. We have taken the kids in Tanzania on field trips to Gombe, for example, which is a national park where Jane Goodall did her early work with chimpanzees. Yeah. And, you know, Gombe's right over the hill from the villages we work with, and these kids had never been there before. So just taking them on the boat around to Gombe and letting them sort of learn about the trees in the area, the insects, the chimpanzees, the baboons. It was really eye-opening, you know, and it was such a shame that they had never been before. But yeah, I agree. Those kinds of life experiences are transformative.
And what, speaking of transformative, like, has there been one experience that stands out in all of the history of your work that just impacted you in a way that you'll never forget or change the path that you were on?
Wow, that's a good question. I mean, first of all, I was never going to be in Africa, you know, and I was working with Burundi refugees in Salt Lake City, And then I got curious about where they were coming from, which is how I ended up in Tanzania visiting refugee camps, which led to this work. And now I can't let go. Jane Goodall, you know, she made a statement about how Africa just kind of gets in your blood. And that's sort of how I feel. Every year I say, oh, I'm not going to go this year. I'm going to go on a climbing trip to Greece or something else. And I still instead keep going back to Tanzania and schlepping through the village and being really hot and sweaty. So it's changed my life in the sense that I was really more of sort of focused on me and my enjoyment, my adventures, and my climbing. And now it's a little bit less about that. And I want to find more of a balance because I miss the old climber lifestyle. So yeah, Danica's an inspiration. Also Micah Bernhardt, the work she's been doing in Ethiopia, I think. Anyway, yeah. So I think there's a way to kind of connect the two, to connect the outdoor excitement and the education nonprofit work.
Well, that's good. And is there a lot of buy-in and support from the outdoor industry, which are the kind of the roots of where this started?
Yeah, there was more in the beginning when we sort of, climbers were the main source of funding. And, you know, we would have fundraisers at climbing gyms and DJ events, music events, trail running events. But that only goes so deep. And so now we kind of need to reach bigger and broader. But it would be great if more outdoor enthusiasts wanted to tie what they do out in the world, like if there are climbers going to Pakistan, for example, or just going to any peak, if they wanted to climb it to raise money for such and such cause, it would be a really good way to sort of connect our selfish pleasures in the mountains back with things that really matter in the world.
Well, let's hope we can do that. And certainly, like, more and more each year we have just these incredible female climbers. We've got movies from them, things that are very inspiring, and you know, the possibility of leveraging that to not only entertain and inspire, but also to do good in the world and provide opportunity, I think is a great thing when it can work that way.
Yeah, if there's any rad female climbers that want to join me on a trip to Pakistan and get some girls out, that would be excellent. That would be really fun.
Yeah, I think, gosh, I'm trying to remember where the Russian Shield is. I think, you know, Maya and Smith Gobat's got an expedition planned in that region this year. So
awesome.
We'll see. Maybe we can do something.
Yeah.
And what's coming up? What's coming up next for you? Like, what's the next big thing for girls' education?
You know, we want to grow our program in both Liberia and Tanzania. We also had an invitation to join a nonprofit that's working in South Sudan to work with girls there. So we could expand into additional countries. But in the immediate future, we're just focusing on continuing to support the girls that we have. And it's, you know, it's a struggle for sure. You know, there's a lot of causes to donate to. And so the main thing is we want to focus on our fundraising, our support, and just stay true to the girls we're already committed to right now.
And just so people have kind of a reference point, how much money does it take to support each girl for like one year of schooling?
Average probably is about $250. It varies from country to country, but it's about $250 a year, and that includes books, transportation to school, uniforms, school fees. So, and we have 60 girls in Pakistan, 30 in Tanzania, and about 17 in Liberia.
Well, that's amazing, and I'm so glad to hear that you're doing this, and I hope that we can help play a role in getting the word out to the world about it.
Yeah, we're super honored to be part of this film festival, and we're really grateful that that you asked us to be here.
Well, thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to doing more together soon.
Yeah, thanks so much, Ben.
All right, have a good night.
Okay, you too. See you.